Welcome to the 16th episode of Tokenizing Everything, our weekly interview series with thought leaders in the blockchain industry. My name is Nicolas and I will be your host today. Today's guest is Tim Dierckxsens, CEO and co-founder of Arkane Network. Before we begin, I have to mention that all opinions are solely personal and do not reflect the opinion of Amazing Blocks or any other involved parties. So, how are you, Tim? Nice to have you here today.
Thanks, Nicholas. It's wonderful to be here. I'm doing very well. It's, I think, a busy time for everybody here in the blockchain space. So, how are you?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm a bit sick, but I'm really excited, about today since obviously NFTs, for instance, are currently a very hot topic in the blockchain space, and obviously you have probably a lot of insights there in that regard. So I think our listeners will also be very excited about today's episode. So maybe would you like to briefly start by giving a broad overview of who you are and
Yeah,
where you come from, what your take is on the blockchain space currently, and just a brief overview of your career.
yeah, of course. Uh, yeah, as you said, my name is Tim Dierckxsens and the CEO of Arkane. I'm with three other co-founders, and we actually dived into the blockchain space in 2014 and really started to work on blockchain-based applications in 2016. And what we really saw as a big issue is the usability of blockchains for businesses and for users. It's still very hard to use it today. And then we focused a lot on being a middle layer solution as a blockchain technology provider, enabling businesses and people to have an easy to use blockchain wallet so that you can use social accounts to sign in, create a blockchain wallet, connect that to a game or connect that to an application. So in the end, that it's easy for a business to not necessarily leverage MetaMask, but give an alternative for their players or for their users. And then we've been in the gaming space. So like one of our biggest customers is the Sandbox. I don't know if you have heard about the Sandbox.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so they use Arkane to onboard users using Google, Twitter, Facebook, and we have onboarded about 70,000, 80,000 of players for them to the Sandbox, which is very nice because they're doing very well at the moment. They just crossed $1.5 billion in valuation. So we're very proud to be like part of that ecosystem, supporting them out. And with that, we learned a lot about the NFTs, how to create NFTs, and also have worked in the silent 2 years on a blockchain-based marketplace that is now available on Polygon on Matic. So that is really to make the gas fees that is currently clogging the Ethereum's network so much to make that livable for the buyers that want to interact, buy, sell, and trade NFTs using a more uh, yeah, affordable blockchain network.
Yeah, so I see a very diverse approach to the blockchain industry. I like that approach. So, in terms of, there's a lot of people describe a certain wow moment that really got them excited about blockchain. So, do you have one specific moment or what really sparked your interest in this technology? And maybe why do you really focus on the gaming side of it? Do you think that gaming, for instance, can be like, kind of a good gateway for making blockchain mainstream potentially?
Yeah, that is exactly the reason why we're in gaming. I myself have a business background. I studied business and economics. I got to know my co-founders when we were IT consultants and I was on the business side of things. I learned about smart contracts and just the idea of that, what you were able to do with a smart contract functionality. Yeah, you could automate so many processes like this. And yeah, just like so many other people, I got so enthusiastic and excited about the space. I convinced my co-founders to really dive deep because they're technical, I'm not. And yeah, we were able to see that there's so much business value around blockchain technology. And in the beginning, we weren't actually focused at the game, focused on gaming at all. We were focused on being a holistic technology provider for any solution. And from technology point of view, we could target each and every market, but yeah, as a startup, you need to focus. You need to really find your niche. You need to get into the problems of a specific client as a specific sector. And when we did our research, we saw a very big gap in the game space. We had a couple of competitors that were busy in the fintech space that we said, well, we could start competing there, but here's an open market around gaming where there's already a big opportunity because they do microtransactions and there's so much margin that is being taken up by Apple, by Google, by Steam. And a lot of the indie game studios, they're struggling with the business model. And this is where we see that blockchain technology, NFTs, in-game currencies can really help out.
Mhm. Yeah, an interesting story a friend of mine told me is that, back in the day, a couple of years ago, when you were playing in these games, like a lot of kids, invested a lot of money from their parents, right, in these in-game assets, which once the kids stopped playing these games, were pretty much, they lost their value. There's no use case for it.
Yeah,
So I think, NFTs can be a great way to cope with that issue and kind of monetizing that more, not so much for the centralized institutions that issue the games, but even more so for the players. So you
yeah.
know currently there's a big hype for NFTs, obviously. And I mean, I think it was yesterday, right, there was an NFT that sold for $69 million. So it's
I saw
pretty,
that as well. That was
yeah,
wild.
it's a pretty crazy industry right now. And some people compare it to the ICO craze, which I do not really would, I take that comparison too much per se. But what is your take on the recent hype, and do you think that hype is, sustainable, or do you think it will also kind of fade away and we will need to have some more real world applications for NFTs?
Well, if it's a hype, I do think it is a hype. Not because they're not good. I believe there is a very big value around NFTs, the utility behind it, the use of it as a collectible item. Um, and in this case, I think a friend of mine said it very well. Selling an NFT, for example, Kings of Leon, they're selling their art album as an NFT. Or I think Logan Paul also, we supported Logan Paul with the selling of his NFT for Bondi. And Brandon from Bondi mentioned it very well. You're actually buying a relationship, a direct relationship between your fan and the artist. And if you then have a branded item, an NFT collectible that is limited in edition, you're part of a club of super fans. And the ability which you can then go on towards bringing more value to those groups of super fans is, well, you can actually support them by giving them front row tickets to the concert. That's one of the utilities that Kings of Leon is bringing to them. And just having that concept, saying, here you can buy this NFT. This is a brand collectible from me personal to you as a fan. That I think is a very strong use case.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think involving and creating something unique for the fans to hold of their respective artist is something, a great use case. Do you also think, because that's something that interests me as well with NFTs, potentially using them as a form of digital identity. Do you think that this will also kind of be an interesting use case, or not so much? Because obviously, every human is unique, so therefore every NFT is unique. So maybe, like, I see a potential correlation on that regard, or do you think that something that will kind of also develop in the future?
If an NFT standard could be the tokenization of a digital identity, is that the question?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, that's going to be a difficult one. Theoretically, yes, since you can actually add all the properties, but yeah, even yeah, what are you going to then digitize or tokenize? Are you going to tokenize all the password information? Are you tokenize the thumbprint? Are you going to add that all in the metadata of a specific NFT? Um, Maybe. Uh, theoretically you could do that, but then is that where we want to head towards with the technology? Is that the main use case you want to use it for?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see, because there will probably be a lot of different use cases, right? For in the future, even more so for NFTs to emerge. I think just generally, democratizing and monetizing intellectual property as well, I think is a great use
Yeah,
case for them. So, do you personally think that NFTs can kind of be a feasible gateway for mainstream adoption of blockchain? Because, you know, I think NFTs are a bit easier to understand for newbies in this space than, DeFi protocols or
yeah,
the data marketplaces, like Ocean Protocol or AI marketplace like Singular Internet, where they have all these different applications, but it's hard to understand and it's too much, tech potentially and tech talk at the end of the day. So do you think NFTs could be like a feasible gateway for everybody to kind of have a first step into the blockchain space without having to adhere to investing in volatile crypto assets?
absolutely. People are visual beings. Blockchain has for a long time been intangible, a very abstract concept. The tokenization of NFTs, like the art albums or the audio files, this is exactly what is needed in the blockchain space to go mainstream, because we've always been talking about the value of the technology and what it brings, and now you're finally going to see it. And you could see it for the people that were trading Bitcoin because they understand the value behind Bitcoin and saying, okay, they already understand it. But honestly, most people don't understand the value of trading cryptocurrency. But owning a digital item or a collectible item, whether it's digital or physical, is fully transparent. And then you can really say, okay, I understand the concept of true ownership, really being able to claim something as mine and being able to show it. And if you then look at Terra Virtua, they're then creating like a VR marketplace or gallery where you can actually see the items that you have in VR. That brings a lot of value to the space.
Yeah, yeah, no, I fully agree. It's the what you mentioned correctly is the tangible aspect
Yeah,
of it. You really know what you have, right? Sometimes with a couple of altcoins, you don't really know what you have in your wallet. So that's a great point that you mentioned. So let's maybe dive into Arcane Network a bit. Can we kind of dive into tokenization a bit further? Which are the pain points? I know you talked a bit quickly about it earlier already, but maybe a bit more in depth, which are the pain points you really are trying to solve? And can you also maybe give us an answer in terms of how you solve it, like a bit of insights in terms of the marketplace that you create, what is listed and offered there in terms of the products and so on? That would be interesting.
yeah, of course. What we try to solve is the ease of use, the usability of blockchain technology for not the tech savvy, not the crypto savvy, but the 99% of users that say, I actually want to get to know the space, I want to learn about it. What is an easy way, a safe way for me to get my first NFT? How can I buy my first NFT so that they don't need to actually go to a cryptocurrency exchange, do full KYC over there, then withdraw the cryptocurrency into their wallet, then hope that they do not mess up anything else or lose their private key in the meantime. Uh, the three products that we provide are really for businesses to enable a novice user to say, hey, I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of the artist. I'm a fan of the business. I want to interact with it and give me the tools so that I don't need to learn anything, because yeah, I'm not comfortable in managing my private key. That's one thing that we do. We do the custody management where we make sure that people can reset their PIN code. They keep everything in ownership within their own wallet, but in such a way that they say, okay, for me, I can work with blockchain technology and I'm comfortable and free to do so.
Yeah, yeah, I think that intuitive approach, right, is kind of the key also for mainstream adoption. I mean, a lot of people in the industry probably know this. They have like 10 plus exchange accounts and even more wallets probably, and you can it's hard to, keep
Yeah.
track of all this, and that's why it's really important to have these user-friendly marketplaces. So, So in terms of the NFTs and the products that are currently on the marketplace that you offer, can you maybe give us some insights, maybe your favorite product currently on Arcane Network and the marketplace and what is being offered there?
Yeah. So our marketplace is on Matic on Polygon. So we're working with about 38 to 40 different game studios that are moving away from Ethereum and moving into Polygon. And the main reason for that is creating an NFT on Ethereum or having a buyer to buy the NFT itself. The gas fees are incredibly high. The Kings of Leon art NFT is a good example. The art album was, I think, priced at $50, and some people paid $50 or $60 in gas fees alone. And yeah, that is all part of that network being too expensive. So what am I most proud of is where we are supporting all these businesses to finally go live on another blockchain where we can bring in the content creators and make sure that we have people ready that are enabled to actually experience the purchase of NFTs, where they can log in with Google, Twitter, Facebook. They can then top up with account with PayPal, and then from there, just purchase the NFT and that will go into their blockchain wallet. And that first experience, that buyer experience, where they don't realize that they're dealing with blockchain technology, where they don't even know that they get a wallet where they can store the NFT and later on take it away. That is what we see as a big accomplishment.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's crucial there, right? To have that, also the scalability of creating an NFT in the marketplace that is, not going to cost you a lot of
Yeah,
money, right? Like on Ethereum. So do you think personally that generally in the future NFTs are not so much going to be issued on the Ethereum blockchain, but on other networks, or do you think when ETH 2.0 comes along, it will kind of
mm,
move back to the Ethereum blockchain?
it's a interesting question. When I talk to a lot of people, they really believe that there has to be a bridge between Ethereum and Matic or Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain, and where people can move it from blockchain to blockchain. And I'm wondering, and so are my colleagues wondering, how useful is this? Is it because Ethereum, all the liquidity where the buyers and ourselves are today, they need to be able to move back into that original network? Or is it more the case that on the other networks, more products or service providers like Arkane will pop up and have products and services ready on that network? Arkane is the first one to launch on Polygon. OpenSea will be available in a couple of weeks. If OpenSea is available on Matic, will it be necessary for an NFT item to move back to Ethereum? I don't think so, because the buyers on OpenSea are already going to be on the Matic network.
Yeah, 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 makes perfect sense. Like, there's not really a reason to go back to Ethereum if you've already established yourself necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the long run, it's less going to be the point on which blockchain network you're on, because most of the blockchain networks will have their transactions, will have their security, and also their business. And products and services like ours are going to be blockchain agnostic, and it's going to be about the NFT. So if you go on our marketplace today, you will see the wallets of Matic. In 2 weeks' time, or I think 3 weeks' time, we will add availability of Binance.
Mm.
So that's one single marketplace that is blockchain agnostic, and then the NFTs can live on different blockchains. So one NFT can be minted on Binance, the other can be minted on Matic. If one person buys the Binance one, they get the Binance wallet. If they buy the Matic one, they get a Matic wallet as well. But for them, yeah, they just get multiple wallets linked to the same account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I think, generally there's a growing consensus in the industry that all these different chains will kind of coexist and to some sort of way be interoperable with each other, or when service providers like you guys, have like a great tool to combine, the usability of all these change. I think that's kind of where the industry will head into the future. So
Yeah.
at this stage, I would just like to ask you a question from the Be in Crypto community that is always posing a question each week to my guest. So they asked Jenny, and we kind of already tapped into this a bit, but what are the main benefits of NFTs and how do I actually create one?
We have APIs to create NFTs.
Mhm.
So we created in an ERC 1155 standard. You have two standards, the 721 and 1155. The 1155 gives you a little bit more flexibility. Um, that's scheduling a call with my colleague Gerbert. He can demonstrate how you can create NFTs. I think also there are going to be more interfaces so people can just use a web interface, fill out all the necessary details, and then press the button and that will create an NFT. So those things are coming up in a couple of weeks. I think you can already do that on Wearable on Ethereum. They have that available. And yeah, I forgot the first question that you had.
The first one is probably going to be easy for you. What are the main benefits of NFTs?
Yeah, the main benefit is, of course, that it's non-fungible, so it is unique. And then it's always going to be a little bit around the token economics behind it. So if an artist is going to create an NFT, he really has to think upfront, how many am I going to create? I want to have this as limited supply. How am I going to price this? What is the value I'm going to give extra to a specific unit NFT? And if they do their homework upfront and correctly, I believe that will really be the key for creating NFTs from business point of view.
Hmm. Yeah, I fully agree with you. Maybe since you tapped into this value the topic a bit, do you think that in the future, right, when we're talking about the value of an NFT, there will kind of also be this role of an appraiser like it is currently in the art industry, or do you think it will be just like an auction or supply and demand? What is your take in terms of the pricing of an NFT in the future when we really have that mainstream adoption?
That is a very interesting question. I do believe that with art you need curation,
Mm,
and with curation there is an, yeah, if I give it a dirty word, an elitist group that says this has value and this does not.
mm,
And that's because they've studied art history. They've studied something that says, okay, for these specific reasons, I consider this an art piece compared to something else. Just because you use NFT as a technology does not mean that that mindset will differ.
mm,
In fact, we're bringing that mindset into NFTs because what is very strange is when you're creating an NFT, you're also creating the mint number. You're going to say this is the first minted and this is the last minted. And that psychology of art that says, this is my first painting I created and this is my 10th version. Well, the first one is always most valuable. Well, if you're doing a digital print and saying this digital print is the first edition and this is the 10th edition, yeah, somehow that psychology of value is also in that print number of NFTs.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that that also again then creates that scarcity effect that is currently,
Yeah,
one of the hottest topics in other cryptos, like with Bitcoin or so, that there's a capped supply, right? And
yeah.
it will be the same kind of psychology that is applied to it. Yeah. So it's probably there will be different pricing mechanisms kind of intermingling with each other depending on, the marketplace and maybe also the use case and the industry where the NFT is going
Yeah.
to be used. Yeah.
And also, what we see are companies, NFT Bank, I believe, they are creating, or non-fungible as well, they're creating tools to have a price prediction of NFTs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. So how does it really work? Like the prediction?
I believe there'll probably be a little bit form of AI and machine learning, and also looking at the buying behavior and the transaction history of other NFTs.
Hmm.
and where then they can say, okay, we believe that the pricing of this NFT will increase or decrease in value based on the transactional information available.
Okay, yeah. That is really interesting. So I
Yeah,
definitely could check
definitely.
that out. A very interesting topic. Yeah, it's always great when I get these new information and product to my guests. So thanks for that. So in terms of the NFTs or tokenization in general, you personally have one specific favorite use case? I mean, it can be, obviously in gaming, but maybe it's something else as well that excites you.
For me, the digital licensing of a specific item,
Mm-hmm.
that I think is very valuable. Um, the Smurfs is a Belgian company. They are in the sandbox. They have given the rights to the sandbox to tokenize, to be available in the game, and giving that right to a player, saying, "Okay, now you own this NFT. You have the right to use it. Uh, you have the right to resell it." That is something that I just find, yeah, very fun to watch and to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with this. And do you also think like because obviously at Amazing Blocks we deal more with, for instance, the ERC-20 standards, obviously fungible tokens and
Mhm.
morphing your liquid assets into liquid ones. Do you also see kind of a way, because that's something that I've been thinking of a lot, is what if you could actually tokenize an NFT and therefore split the ownership? Do you think that's something that could also emerge where this NFT would actually become also from a financial side and a true asset class of itself?
Yeah, definitely see that happening. I believe in the sandbox, there are people that own NFTs as pieces of land,
Mhm.
and the goal is there that they're going to create game concepts within that land, and how they can tokenize that and actually have multiple investors for that piece of land because they want to increase the value of that because they're going to build, for example, a digital concept for Tomorrowland. And that is something that I see they're going to be tokenizing most likely so that they can bring that available.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's really exciting. Yeah, I heard a lot about that. The land in games is really rising up in value. So that's probably also a very exciting use case that we at Amazing Block should look into definitely. So apart from this, do you think that like these in-game, weapons, for instance, are also a great use case for NFTs, or that like also in terms of the value of it, or do you think just because there's so many different ones, the value of each individual one will kind of fade away? What is your take on that?
I think that's why you have the 1155 standard.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a couple of NFTs that are in-game assets that are more fungible. My colleague gave a good example: pieces of wood.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that will have like the same characteristics, but everything around your avatar, like your armor or the weapon, these are things that are upgradable,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that you can upgrade are then the items that you make as non-fungible, because then you can really change the properties of that specific item, making it more valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I think that is definitely something that's going to be crucial, where you have a certain degree as well of flexibility, right,
Yeah,
between fungibility
indeed.
and non-fungibility. So I think our listeners learned a lot about this. To wrap this up, one question that I always like to ask my guests is, and I know you cannot give a definite answer to this, but just always interesting to see the opinion. Where do you see blockchain and tokenization in 10 years from now? And maybe to add on this for you specifically, NFTs in 10 years.
I think NFTs will be part of the backbone of the future society, as in this is the way that we will be doing value transactions of digital items, and not just digital items, but also having NFT as a digital twin to something physical. If you're going to be doing promotional campaigns, if you then want to say, okay, I have my bags of Lays chips. There's a lot of promotional articles in there. Well, that doesn't always have to be physical. That can become digital, and that digital promotional article that you get will most likely be an NFT in the future.
Okay, yeah. So basically, everything in the real world will have a kind of digital twin, right? On
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's what I then see as the value of blockchain and NFTs is, yeah, you get that as something that you own, and you have the freedom to use it in any way that you want.
Mhm.
And yeah, the blockchain then gives you a transparency of all the transaction history, so that is the backbone of the future decentralized society.
Yeah, yeah. That's, I think, a great closing word from you, Tim. So thanks so much for joining the show today. Really some great insights, I think, on probably currently the hottest topic in the industry, is because when I'm on Clubhouse or wherever, like 90% of the talks are about NFTs. So I think we definitely picked the right time for this interview, and it was a pleasure having you on the show. So greetings to Belgium, and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Nicholas. Bye.
Bye. And to our listeners, as always, I hope you had fun listening or watching the show. And next week will be another exciting episode. And if you have any questions about NFTs, I'm sure feel free to reach out to Tim and his team at Arkane, and about tokenization as well. And always feel free to reach out to me, Nicholas. And have a great day, and see you next week.